Hello, craft beer friends, and welcome to Season 8, Episode 16 of Tap to Craft Podcast. I am Denny Luce, coming to you from Boise, Idaho, and my partner in craft, the Dog Whisperer, and my favorite Florida man, also known as Drinking Eagle from Tampa, Florida, Mr. Chris McKenzie. How you doing tonight, Chris? And of course, what is in your glass?
In my glass tonight, we'll switch this up a little bit. In my glass, I'm drinking a beer called Chop It Up from Southern Grist.
Okay.
Let's get the lights on here. But this beer, I've had this on the show before, and it is a brown ale brewed with lactose, which I could do without. The coconut, hazelnuts, and cacao nibs in this brown ale. It's a little on the sweeter side, but I figured it was time to get this one consumed because I had it a couple of weeks ago and I liked it, but I was on the fence about it. It's a little sweet, but it's a brown ale, and I was, hoping to be like a usual brown ale, but it's not. It's just a little sweet for my taste, but I don't want to pour it down the drain if I don't have to.
Yeah. I hear you.
But I'm doing fantastic. It's been a lovely sunny day here in Tampa, and just been out enjoying the weather, and just got done with dinner about an hour ago, and it's been a fantastic day. So
good.
But what about you, sir? What's in your glass, and how are you doing today?
I am fantastic because today is President's Day, observed, and I had a day off. Observed. So I'm doing good because I also spent the weekend with my daughter Haley in Pocatello, and you know what that means.
You had work to do?
No, very little. I busted out the work like within less than an hour. I got all the chores done when I got there Friday, but no, it means that I visited
Jim Dandy
with their 16-ounce cans now, and I'm drinking this one here, Yellow Belly, and it's a dry hopped wheat beer. And it's I got a 4-pack of this. I had it while I was there, and I really wanted to bring this other beer back with me that I checked into and had a few while I was there. We went there both Friday and Saturday. I went there twice because I just enjoyed the beer. They had 4 new beers that I hadn't had before, and I really enjoyed them all. But there was one that we'll talk about a little later, two actually, that I had to go back and get seconds of. In fact, I got 2 extra 20-ounce pints of one of them that I just absolutely fell in love with, and it goes with the topic that we're going to have on the show today as well. So we'll go ahead and blend that in as we get along.
Well, I'm going to do this too, just because we're moving in that direction. I'm going to go ahead and put that in there.
You got your frost buddy out, huh?
Let's not get too excited. We got to get that. We got to get it all in place first.
Get all in place. It's working its way. It's working its way. We're
got that
soon to
first.
be able to
get that first part out of the way. So, all right,
Chris. All right. Well, hey, before we get too far into the show, we always like to let anyone new listening to Tap to Craft Podcast what we are all about. We are an educational podcast. We focus around celebrating all things craft beer because we want to assist you, our listener, along in your craft beer journey and adventures. And you're listening to episode 198. We're recording on Monday, February 21st, 2022. And we are live on Facebook and hopefully live on Twitter. This is a new thing. I've been trying to get us on Twitter for a while, and I think I finally did it. Now, don't expect me to interact on Twitter while I'm doing this because I can barely, interact with Chris while we're doing this and all of our Facebook Live people. But if you would rather, if you happen to be more of a Twitter follower than a Facebook person, then now you have the option to watch a little bit of us or all of us on the Monday nights before the episode releases at 8:30 Eastern time. Just tune in and watch us live. You can hear the show, see how the show is made, and you can see how the show is made without edits because this is live. We won't edit it. And if you listen to the real podcast, you'll see that there's probably a few things missing than what we had when we recorded. Just a few.
Look, I think it's cool just to be able to see that unedited stuff, or you and I going back and forth, going, shit, forgot to hit the record button, or
it all happens. It
happens all the time.
All right. So in this episode, we will be discussing 4 new hops to keep an eye out this year. And this article was provided by one of our fantastic listeners, Mr. Eric Gronley, who is joining us on Facebook Live as we speak,
Mhm.
as well as some other great conversation that Chris and I will have along the way. So, Chris and I, before we get started, also we want to thank all of our Patreon supporters. This episode is brought to you in part by our satisfied Patreon supporters like Mike Allen, Bill Schlemmer, Amanda and Kevin Argauer, and our latest virtual producer, Mark Reedy. Uh, so thank you, Mark, for joining us on our Patreon supporters. And Tom Byrne, Jeff Seiler, Johan Halberg, Tara Carlson, Chad Lamassa, Mark Church, Matt Knight, and Eric Gronley, who want to buy us a virtual beer. If you enjoy the content we provide, we invite you to support the show by toasting your host or buying us a virtual beer or even becoming a virtual producer. You can explore the options on our support page by visiting patreon.com/tapthecraft. Okay, Chris,
Thanks, guys.
yeah, we had a lot of different feedback. I mean, a lot of different emails and things that were on Facebook and Twitter. But you know what? We're going to focus on a few things here. And as we already mentioned, Eric Gronley, he did write us an email. And Chris, why don't you go ahead and start with that first email that he wrote us?
Okay. So Eric wrote, I recently stumbled onto this article that showcases 4 new hops to look for this year. While I really enjoy a well-done Citra Mosaic blend, I think it's important that brewers keep experimenting, and it's something that the US does pretty well. I'm looking forward to discovering new flavor profiles, aromas, and more with these. I guess I'm getting sentimental, but wanted to take a moment to recognize how cool it is that this podcast has brought in listeners from all over the world. It's kind of amazing to think about that getting to interact with folks who are on their own craft beer journey together wasn't even possible without literally bumping into someone in their hometown not too long ago. Cheers.
Yeah, yeah. So, as you just mentioned, Chris, that our topic today is brought to you by Eric Gronley because he did find this article, and I thought it was very interesting. And it mentions hops that I have seen in beers, and I think it's interesting. I'd like to find out a little bit more. And I thought, oh, you know what? I bet our listeners would like to be on the lookout for some of these hops and see, what change, what they bring to the hoppy world, and even
Yeah.
some things that maybe aren't supposed to be hoppy, right? Because these hops can be added into, porters and stouts and other beers that aren't normally hoppy, but can provide some of those other subtle fruity flavors into the beer that might make it enjoyable as well. So thank you for that. And you know what, Eric, you are absolutely correct. The one thing that Chris and I, we love the interaction with all of our great listeners out there, and it is fantastic that as you listen to the show, we have interactions from around the world. Most of them being brought to you by our buddy Johan Halberg in Sweden. We have a few listeners in Sweden, and he's not the only one. There's other ones there. We have Denmark. We have a lot of in that area that download the show. We have I think over 26 different countries where the podcast is downloaded. So a lot of countries, and we get most of the interaction from England and some Canadian, and we did have some interaction from Japan a while ago, but mostly it's Johan and some of our Great Britain listeners. But hey, we love the interaction. We love bringing everyone together, sharing in each other's craft beer journeys.
Yeah, and it's even cool, just like the last 3 people that commented on our live Facebook stream. We've got Chad, who's in Baltimore, Eric, he's in Minnesota. Like, I'll never forget that again. And then Bill, he's in Florida here with me. So I mean, we've got 3 different states in just the last couple of minutes, and we get to interact with you guys, and that's probably, like Eric said, it's probably one of the coolest things.
Yeah.
About this whole thing that we get to do every couple of weeks.
Yeah, it is great. It is great. And it's always funny. I've mentioned it before in the show years ago that we have a lot of people, a lot of different downloads from around the world, but it's really, imagine if we had interactions from all the people that listen to this show.
Oh my gosh.
We would have a lot of interaction, but even the 5-10% that do interact with us is still enjoyable. And I'll take those 10%. I know that there's people out there that just enjoy listening, and when they're listening, they're not in a easy place to go, because I'm one of those people, right? A lot of times I'm listening and I'm not able to like stop what I'm doing and then jot down an email or call on a
Mm-hmm.
voicemail or anything. And I see in my back of my mind, I say, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then, you know, time goes by and you forget. Uh, and so I do appreciate when people do take that time out to
Yeah.
leave us a voicemail, an email, comment on Twitter or Facebook. I mean, it is nice.
Hell, that's the whole reason I'm here with you guys.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you're one of the few that decided to interact with us. I mean, John was one of the few that
Yeah.
decided to interact with us on the 40 cast, and that's how we became friends, and he became a host of the show as well. So, yeah, internet. I mean, the internet is a scary place, but it's also can be a friendly place as
Yeah.
well. All right. So Eric wrote us another email today, and he wanted to make sure we didn't forget to mention about some a little bit of problems happening with modern times. And I think someone else also listed the articles for Modern Times
Yeah.
and um, Hair of the Dog. Decided to close. So there's an article in the Oregonian, which is the Portland newspaper. Is on their online. It's Modern Times Beer to close its tasting room in Southeast Portland amid financial struggles. And Eric was nice enough to just take the article and pull out a few paragraphs that stood out to him that I think it kind of summarizes everything, because he mentioned that, a year ago, right? Or no, 2 years ago now. It's probably been about 2 years ago, Chris, on air, you were thinking,
Yeah.
you actually went and purchased shares. And then after, like a week later, that it got canceled because too many
Mm-hmm.
people had purchased shares. That you had actually done it on air,
Yeah.
and you were going to be a contributor to Modern Times.
Yeah, and it was really interesting because I saw this article pop up, and I don't know if I shared it on our page or I saw it from Eric or someone else. As soon as I saw that pop up, I was like, "Huh, glad my investment didn't go through because I literally tried to put $1,000 into them
Yeah.
while we were chatting online that night, and I was like, man, stupid, it's not working." And then we see this, and I'm like, oh, okay, makes sense. you,
Yeah.
you don't get to see why the world works the way it does all the time immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. So the highlights are they're closing 4 satellite locations by the end of last week, and one of those is in Portland, and then there was 2 in California. Was there 2 or 3 in California now? I'm thinking there was 4 locations, but one was for sure um, in Portland, and then 2 in California, Oakland, and
San
somewhere
Diego.
else.
Yeah.
San Diego, yeah, San Diego one. Um, so yeah, 4 sites are located, and they say the company said the cutbacks are based on a combination of factors: 4 straight years of rapid, costly expansion, followed by an unforeseen and financially devastating global health crisis, and an industry-wide decline in sales. Taken together, these factors have stretched their finances and the company culture to a point that is simply no longer sustainable. I think that's a problem we mentioned before, right?
Yeah.
If you expand too quickly, it may be great when things are going well. If your beer, I mean, in Modern Times, it was making great beer, and and it made sense to go into markets that appreciate good beer, and if they're having on-site premise sales, that's great. But once those get closed down, and Portland's one of those places that got hit where they had very strict guidelines
Yeah.
for opening up, and then California has had a similar very strict guidelines, as where if you had to be a restaurant that serves food or whatever to open up. You couldn't just be a bar. I mean, I don't know. There's different rules. So I think the places that are closing are ones that were really hit hard during that time, and you can't just keep paying a lease on a property and trying to employ it if you just don't have any money coming in from it. So it's understandable that that was bad timing, and yeah, it's better to close it down now than to just keep bleeding out. Let's go ahead and get back to a few locations and build back up and get to a point where you're sustainable. It also mentions the Brewer Association. They said that overall the U.S. beer volume sales were down 3% in 2020, while craft beer brewer volume sales declined 9%. They say hard seltzer and ready-to-drink beverages are increasingly preferred by younger adult drinkers, chipping away at craft beer's market share.
Hmm.
And I think this is true, but um, yeah, I mean, of course it's true, right? People are going to go and drink what they want, right? I honestly am not concerned with the declining
No.
sales. It just means there's more for me to drink, right?
Yeah.
If other people aren't drinking it, but I can see where it would begin to cause bigger breweries that were distributing out further away from their home base to kind of withdraw back, right? So we may be losing some access to, to some beers that we were getting before because they just want to get closer to home. And also, I think that one of the bigger problems is these hard seltzers and ready to drink beverages are stealing shelf space in the grocery stores.
Yeah.
That's probably a bigger hit. And if that's the case, then they're going to be forced to, to withdraw, or they're only going to be able to put their stuff in beer, bottle shops that have, that are willing to make space. That's all they do is bottle sales. Maybe that will work, but is it worth it to try to get that, to logistically get your stuff out there if you're only servicing, a couple stops, right? It doesn't make much sense to do that. So, yeah, it's sad to see that Modern Times is struggling, but I'm glad that they've made choices now to try to bandage it up a little bit, keep the bleeding to a minimum.
Yeah.
All right. And let's get into the voicemail now. Oh, thank you, Eric, for those emails. Really appreciate that. Now, Eric, or wait a minute. Hold on. Eric did not leave us a voicemail. Sorry. I was getting so excited for Eric, but no, but we did get some voicemails. We got voicemails from Chad, and we got a couple voicemails from Mark Reedy as well. So, Chris, why don't you go ahead and play the first voicemail from Chad Lamassa?
All right.
Hey guys, it's Chad. After listening to this week's episode, I felt like I should answer a couple questions. Denny, you were saying you'd like to see my beer wall. I actually don't have a beer wall. There's just not space in my house for it. I do have about 30 cans and bottles on display. They're just mostly cans that the art is printed directly on as opposed to removable stickers. The ones that have stickers I've been taking off and putting in legal pads, so I can get like 2 per page, and I have about 1.5 legal pads full of just beer labels now. I looked at the Calvert Brewing Company website. I was going to send both of you guys a couple cans of the Hans Shot first. However, they don't seem to have a store on their website, so I couldn't do that. Also, I found a store not too far away from me that has it, but they don't ship outside of Maryland, and they only had 1 4-pack left, and I don't think I'll be able to get down there before they sell it. Plus, having never mailed beer before, I'm not entirely sure what to do to ensure that it arrives intact.
Call me, I'll tell you how to do it.
Oh, and you guys were talking about seltzers and not having them. I've not had many either. Pools did have some cocktail themes one that Cindy was liking, and I'd take a sip just to see how they were, and they were typically too sweet for me. A couple of weeks ago, I went to see one of my favorite bands, Cursive, at the Black Cat in D.C. I love that venue, but they always have the same thing on tap, so I wanted to try something different. I picked up a bottle of Spiked Hoppy Refresher from Lagunitas in a bottle. So my check-in on Untappd said, waiting for Cursive. I got this for the check-in. It's okay. And I gave it a 3-cap rating. It's not something I drink a lot of, but for something different every now and then, I'd reconsider it. I'd definitely consider it. Back to the labels. Before I started using legal pads, I was sticking them on various other things. Chris, I'm not sure what you had in mind for things to do with them, but I'm open to suggestions. I guess that's it for now. Just hadn't called in a while. Felt like I should. Take care, guys. Cheers.
Okay, Chris, what's your suggestion?
So what I've been doing with them, and actually it's a project that I'm working on now. I'm just trying to find a solution for it. This whole wall that's behind me, there's nothing on it other than my lights here. Okay. So what my plan is I take a lot of the beer labels that I like Ooh, did that completely wrong. I take all the labels that I really like. Screw it, it's staying there. And I actually put them on sheets of magnets. So I don't know if you guys saw the picture that I posted up on Facebook. I was looking for beer tins that had different breweries on them. I did end up getting like the one that you have behind you over your door, Denny. I did end up getting one from Trek.
Yeah.
I got that Mackenzie Brewing, the one that I texted you the other day. And I've got a bunch of Cigar City and Deschutes and all these other ones. So I've been hanging them up in kind of what we call our man cave. And then on my beer cooler, I've taken all these labels that I've transferred over to magnets, and I've stuck them on the side of my beer cooler. So it's kind of like this collage that goes all over it. Well, behind me, it's just a regular drywall wall. It's not like it's magnetic. Nothing's going to stick to it. So I'm trying to find a solution on how do I make that stick so I can put my magnets up on it. Actually, here's let's see if I can pull this up too. Trying to find a way to make it stick. So I found this one company who was potentially going to help me do it, and it was just ridiculously expensive. So there's my beer cooler, and on the side of it is all the magnets and stuff, and then the beer signs and things that are in there. But I was really just thinking about, hey, I'll just throw some like sheet metal, attach some sheet metal to the wall, or there's magnetic paint that you can buy, but you got to put like 6 coats on it for it to actually stick. And everyone that I've heard that's kind of, hey, I used it and it worked, or I've used it and it really didn't work, I can't get a solid answer from anybody. So I'm kind of like unsure about what I'm going to do. So I think sheet metal is going to be the option for me, but it's it's an 8-foot by 12-foot wall, and that's going to take a lot. So just trying to check out some different options. So long story short, Chad, what I've been doing with them, buddy, is I've been putting them on magnet sheets that I've been buying off of Amazon. I get like 15 sheets of 8.5 by like 11 magnets. You can put photos and beer labels and all kinds of stuff on it, but that's what I'm doing with them.
Okay. Yeah. I like the idea of the magnet thing, but I just don't have anywhere to put magnets. So that's why I haven't done that. But I have been sticking to the side of my beer fridge. I have 2 beer fridges, like mini ones. And so I've been putting them like just along, like what you did with your big fridge.
Yeah.
I'm doing the same thing with my little fridges. So I'm just peeling them off. And the best way of peeling off those, well, you probably know, Chad, because you've done a few, but heat up hot water, put it in the can, let it sit just for a minute. And I think, Chris, you told me this, and then it just peels right off. And it really does a good job. I really like that method. So
yeah, it works real good. And it really makes you understand how well these labels are stuck onto beer. It blows my mind when I peel some of them off. Like I got to pick at them for a little bit, and then finally peeling and peeling and peeling. And it's insane how much they stick on there.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, thank you, Chad, for that voicemail. Now he went ahead and sent us another voicemail yesterday or the day before. I can't remember exactly, but go ahead and play the second one that Chad sent us.
Hey guys, it's Chad. I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing my fundraiser on Facebook. That means so much to me, and it's things like this that make people think that they're friends with podcast hosts that they've never actually met in person. But if you guys are in Baltimore, hit me up, and I will definitely buy the first round of beers. Cheers. Bye.
That sounds fantastic, and you're welcome, Chad. Not only did we share it, we also contributed to just show that we are supportive of of your birthday donation request, and I hope you are able to meet your goal. There's still a couple weeks to go, or a week and a half or so to go to go ahead and donate. So I'll put a link to that in our show notes if anyone else wants to go ahead and help Chad out, raise money for. And I can't even. It's a type of cancer that one of his friends has, and he's being supportive of that friend. And it's a big long name that starts with a C, and I don't even want to begin to try to, if it was something easy like colon cancer or something, I'd be able to say that. But I don't know, Chris.
I saw it.
You want to try or?
So I'll admit I saw it and I was like, oh, that's no.
Yeah.
And I normally do pretty good with even those words, but no, I failed on that one too.
Yeah, but you're welcome, Chad. That's it. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Mark Reedy left us a couple voicemails as well. Go ahead and start with that first one.
Hey, what's up, fellas? It's Mark from Monterey, California on Sunday night. Never mind, let's be real. It's Monday morning. It's a long weekend of working both jobs, doing the day over at the Salty Sill Brew Club and Dust Bowl. Excuse me, other way around. Days at Dust Bowl. Nights at Salty
Starting to blend together.
Whoops. I'm a little beat. I was going to email you, but voicemail just seems a lot less effort. Anyway,
right.
you might be interested to know I've been sharing some of your educational episodes with my coworkers. In fact, we have a newly appointed, previous district manager, been appointed taproom, what is he called? The manager of operations in tap rooms, I guess, and to ensure the quality and consistency in the different tap rooms that we're now open. But I asked him if I could share, say, lessons on, Kvike. We had a Kvike come out last week, and I remember you guys had a episode on what a Kvike yeast is all about, and so I shared it with a group in a chat we all have together. Went over well. So that's kind of the plan. Just share your stuff that you guys are sharing with the rest of us in the podcast, with my coworkers at Dust Bowl Brewing Company. And you guys are helping us all gain knowledge, which is pretty cool. Pretty excited about that too. Let's see here. You know, I'm going to try to do a couple reviews on my beers tonight. The Allagash Triple and, of course,
he's getting Allagash all the way out in California.
Black Blizzard, Russian Imperial. All right, guys. I look forward to Monday night. I may be able to tune in. Things just should slow down this Monday night. Maybe I can jump on there while I'm working. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you, Mark. We really appreciate you sharing the show. And hey, it's fantastic.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that you're able to share it with your coworkers and use it as a training opportunity to train up the staff and have them understand better about what the beers they're serving, especially something as confusing maybe as Kvike beer is. Like, people are going to ask, what is this? What kind of style? If they have an opportunity to get a little bit of a quick insight from our show, hey, more power to you guys. We're honored that you're doing that, and thanks.
And if you need us to come in person, like, I just ask that you cover my flight and we'll be good to go.
Yeah. If you need us to come in and teach anything in person at Dust Bowl, let us know. We'll be there.
Yeah. All right.
Let's go for it. And then he had, after that one, he sent one more. He had one more thing to say.
Oh, one more thing. It's Mark again from Monterey. In a previous episode, like maybe year or two ago, I think you guys said that people needed business cards for Tap Craft. Just send an email with the address and send them. I definitely could use some of those as I share your podcast information with our patrons in both locations and definitely my coworkers and what have you. All right, guys. So, I'll send an email tonight, a brief one with my address, and hopefully that's still the case. If not, I will find a way to send people to you. Thanks, guys. Yes, bye-bye.
Okay, Mark. Yes, 100%. I will send you business cards to help promote the show. You're doing a great job as it is, but if I can help you by being able to pass out something that's easier for people to remember, I'll do that. So just send me your address, and I'll send you a bunch of business cards. And actually, I need to get some little stickers that I can put, because I think we made the cards before we had our website.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I want to put the website address on the back too, and maybe Spotify and some other things that they can find us on as well. So yeah, send us your address and I will get those out to you and pass them out. We really appreciate it. And anyone else out there, if you want to have a way of easily sharing the podcast, let me know. I'll send you some business cards you can pass out to your friends, coworkers, business, whatever you want. Put it up on a bulletin board. Whatever you want to do, we appreciate it.
I'll get some stickers with some QR codes on it. That'd be so much easier.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe I will put. Maybe I'll get a QR. Yeah, I'll get a QR code with the name, and they can just, yeah. Maybe I'll do that both. Yeah.
Which, by the way, COVID resurrected the QR code.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. It is now alive again.
Remember how cool they were about 10 years ago, and then everybody went.
Everyone was
nah.
using them, and then then they stopped. And then there was an article like a couple of years ago that said the QR code is dead. Well, obviously, it's no longer dead.
It's because you had to download a whole separate app just to read them. Now your camera does it.
Yeah. Now, it is nice that they did that update. Okay. So, hey, if you want to be like Chad and Mark and send us a voicemail, because like Mark said, it is so much easier just to hit, just tap the craft in your phone, just put it into a contact and just say, call Tap the Craft and leave us a voicemail. It's so easy to do that. You can do that at calling 208-536-3359, or if it's easier for you to remember, 208-53-ODDLY. Yes. Super easy. And leave us a voicemail. We love them.
Yeah, if you guys don't have our number in there, you should put it in there.
Yeah,
that much easier.
And you know what? While we're on this thing, Chris, what do you? I know we're taking a chance, but we might be getting our Frost buddies in, and we want to do a contest for episode 200, right? Do we want to do it? Want to roll a dice, or you want to wait?
Look, Denny, I swear I should put this on a T-shirt. This is one of my favorite sayings. There's only one way to find out.
Yeah. Just do it, right?
Sure. Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Right.
Look,
so
I'd say worst case scenario, we can always find some way to get one.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're on episode 198. Episode 200 is bicentennial.
Yeah,
bicentennial. I was just making sure I had it right. Bicentennial episode. And what would be great and what would enter you guys into a contest is if you would send us a voicemail congratulating on hitting episode 200 and maybe a simple word of what you like the best about Tap to Craft. We will save those voicemails for episode 200 and play them on there, and you will automatically be entered in to win our first Frost Buddy can cooler, bottle cooler, can and bottle cooler. How about that? Episode 200. So you have
pretty awesome.
You have basically, 1 month.
Yeah.
Or actually you have, about 3 weeks, 3 weeks to a month. So send us your voicemails, congratulating on hitting episode 200 and at least one thing that you enjoy about the show or why you continue to listen show after show. Okay. All right. And if you would like to contact the show with your comments or questions, you can reach us through email at taptocraft@gmail.com or on Twitter and Instagram at taptocraft. And of course, feel free to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/taptocraft. And we do have our Tap to Craft podcast website. Just find us at taptocraft.com. Okay, Chris, now it's time for you to start getting those vocal cords moving.
Yeah. Well,
let's see.
There we go. Okay. So I had to, there we go, get that scrolled back. Just as a point of reference, we will be recording, as long as everything goes to plan, we will be recording episode 200 on March 21st, which will then release on 3 days later. So what, the 24th.
Okay. So you have to get your voicemail in before the
21st.
Yep. Thank you. Yep. Thank you for clarifying. All right. Well, let's continue the conversation because now it's time to untap the craft and see what our listeners are drinking according to Untapped.
So you can definitely tell that today is a holiday because people have been doing a lot of drinking in the last 24 hours. So we're going to touch on the goodies through these check-ins, and we're going to start by continuing Mr. Lamassa's check-in streak. This is check-in streak 20,000, people. Happy birthday. It's your 20,000th check-in, Chad. But he's drinking a Nugget Nectar by Trogs Independent Brewing, checking into my favorite beer early in the day to get the birthday card out of the way. Somehow I missed it last year, so that makes it even better. Also, it's afternoon, my local time, and I'm off, so don't judge me. Haha. 5 cap rating for that beer. Looks like you guys have had some interaction back and forth, Denny, for that beer too. But let's see. We're moving on to the next one. Mike Allen's doing a little bit of drinking today at the Taco Mac. He's got the Ode to Mercy Nitroed by Wild Heaven beer. 3 1/4 cap rating for that one. Excuse me. Tom Byrne is drinking a Firestone 25 anniversary ale. Oh, he's good. Yeah. He says always look forward to these. 4 1/4 cap for that one. Let's see. Tom looks like he's out either just taking fun pictures. Oh no, I see where that picture is taken. Tom is drinking the Stout Barrel-Aged Almond Cookie by Western Collective for Art W's B-Day. The GOAT himself, 4 1/4 caps for that beer. And I love the picture because it's taken outside of Great Notion. That's why I was a little confused. Western Collective, pictures at Great Notion. I was a little confused. Tom is also doing a lot of drinking today, so good for you, buddy. Mike Allen also checking into an Alpha Abstraction Volume 19 by Wild Leap Brew Co. Pretty much a perfect balance of dank and citrus. Outstanding. 4 1/2 caps on that beer. Also checked into a double dry hopped King Sue by Toppling Goliath. Nice. Tara Carlson is drinking a Daniel's Dessert Strawberry Rhubarb Pie by Calvert Brewing Company. Chad, maybe they can help you get a hold of that beer too.
Yeah, that's true.
I thought for sure I'd bought a 4-pack, and now this is the last one. Someone's not sharing. I will mention no names, but his initials are James K. Tara, that was his whole name. He sold him out. Sorry, Jim. She gave that one 4 1/4 caps for that beer. Hope you guys are enjoying that beer. It looks pretty good. Let's see. Next on the list, Jeff Weisse is drinking Neon Giants by Brewery Omegang. Amazing hazy collaboration with Firestone Walker. Smooth, silky mouthfeel. The New Zealand hops have a nice tropical finish. Cheers. 4 3/4. Oh no, I almost. Don't mind me. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Not a damn thing. 4 3/4 caps for that beer from Jeff. Denny, you checked into a winter ale from Fremont Brewing. I love that can art. So simple, but very nice. Very pleasant, malt forward, yet dry finished dark ale with hints of toffee, chocolate, plums, and super smooth. Just look at that head. And you can tell this beer is made with love and great ingredients and process. 4 cap rating for that beer. Yeah, I'm good. I'm glad you enjoyed it because it's just one of those cans you look at it and you go, there's something about that can that just makes me want to buy it. It's simple artwork, just the pine needles and the pine cones, and but I want some. So, Jeff Seiler is drinking a Shepherd's Throne by Great Notion Brewing. Delicious hazy double IPA, big piney and citrus notes, tons of flavor, and dangerously drinkable for 10%. Love Great Notion and their amazing can art. 4 1/2 caps for that beer. He's drinking it out of his B cups, overlooking the woods. And
from his back porch.
Yeah. Let's see. Next on the list, Hunter Graham is drinking a Mammoth Skull by Grand River Brewery. 4 cap rating, no notes on that one. Florida Steve drinking out of his Cigar City glass. He's drinking a Strawberry Kiss by Civil Society. Holy F&S. He said, this beer makes me miss Mariana Trench, chocolate, bourbon, and strawberries. Wow. I miss Mariana Trench too, Steve. Thanks for bringing up old stuff. 4 3/4 caps on this beer. But if it's anything like Mariana Trench, that's a tasty one. Let's see. Stephen Lilly is drinking a Juicy ASAP Hazy Edition by Saucy Brew Works. No notes or rating on that one. Ooh, Chad. I'm glad you got a hold of this beer. He's drinking What Maryland Does by True Respite Brewing Company. This is one of those beer labels that is actually on my beer cooler right now. Very nice hazy, lots of citrusy goodness. 4.5 cap rating. Moving a little faster, Jeff Seiler's drinking a Marshall Zhukov's by Cigar City Brewing Company. Big Russian Imperial Stout. Lots of coffee, chocolate, and molasses. Been looking for this beer for a while. It does not disappoint. Delicious. 4.25 caps. Mark Church drinking an Expedition Series Mile 4 by Trek Brewing Company. Nice chocolate and raspberry. Goes nicely with the Stoic Stout base beer. No rating for that one. And Eric Gronley is drinking a Drum Roll by Odell Brewing Company at the GHQ. Gronley headquarters. Yes. I'll never forget that one either. He's a memorable dude, apparently. I have not checked into this one in a long time, but it was so fun to revisit again. It was one of the very first versions for me of what a hazy IPA could be before every brewery made one. It continues to hold up with the soft tropical and citrus flavors. 4 cap rating on that one. And as we hit refresh, I get to read an old of someone I went to school with, high school with. Sarah Zawadski is drinking an Advanced Metrics by Dewey Beer Company. So Chad, my friend Sarah, she's up your way too, as last I recall. Eric Gronley says, we are always welcome anytime at GHQ. Sarah rated this beer 4.5 caps, no notes on that one. So that is what everybody is drinking.
Fantastic. That's a lot of beer. Everyone's enjoying the weekend.
I told you, man, everybody's drinking today.
Oh, good. Good. All right. Well, let's get into our Beer Speak 101 segment. And this is where we briefly define common and not so common beer terminology. In this episode, we explain what it means when we talk about prohibition, and as well as the 2 amendments that are associated with it. Maybe most people probably know what prohibition is, but there might be some younger drinkers that hear the word but don't really understand what it is. So prohibition is a law that was instituted by the 18th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, and this was stemming from the Volstead Act on January 18th, 1920. Somewhere between 16, 17, 18 is when this thing happened, because the dates are like all within a day apart of one another, but we'll say January 18th. And this is forbidding the sale, production, importation, and transportation of alcoholic beverages in the U.S. And it was repealed by the 21st Amendment to the U.S. Constitution on December 5th, 1933. The Prohibition era is sometimes referred to as the Noble Experiment, and also 13 Awful Years. Yes, those would be 13 awful years to me. Again, the 18th Amendment was established for the prohibition of alcoholic beverages by declaring it's illegal for the production, transport, and sale of alcohol. But the consumption or private possession was okay. So you could actually drink it. You just couldn't sell it or manufacture it. Yeah, produce it or transport it or import it. The 21st Amendment, again, this is when it was repealed. And that, again, they say it's around, okay, yeah, that's when it was repealed. That's all we need to know. December 33. December 5th, 1933. Wow. You know what? Having a day off and drinking through the day makes it harder to do a podcast, I think. But, yeah. But yeah, that's what prohibition is all about. I think most of us know what it is, but hey, it's always good to cover that terminology so we know. So when you see 21st Amendment brewery or brewing, again, their name is in the because they were basically saying, yeah, the 21st Amendment allows us to go ahead and make beer again. So they named their beer after that. And again, thanks to Eric Gronley, he sent me a nice list from craftbeer.com that kind of is a beer glossary to go ahead and try to get some information on these beer terms. So that's always helpful as well.
Actually, now that you're talking about Eric Gronley, I think
you got a Minnesota beer in there.
Actually, both of my backup beers in my cooler are from Minnesota. So we got Indeed, which I drank this beer a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah.
And then I got this Walleye Chop, which is, let's see who this is from. I got this Bank Brewing Company. Awaiting with anticipation. Yeah. Bank Brewing Company. I got this from my mother-in-law from a beer subscription service that I got for Christmas for like 2 or 3 months. So, yeah, I got a Minnesota checking in over here, though. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, now it is time for the Brew Buzz. And the Brew Buzz is devoted to discussing various beer-related topics. And this week, like we already mentioned, we're going to discuss the article that our buddy Eric Gronley provided, which is going to discuss 4 new hops to keep an eye out for this year. And I'll have this link to the article in the show notes. So if you want to read it in full, you can go ahead and click the link and get all the information you want about 4 exciting hops to watch in 2022, found on the Hop Culture website and written by Andy Crump.
Well, Denny, real quick, before we get into this, since I just went from a 16-ounce can that I'm getting into a bottle.
Oh, yeah. See how? Does it work? Does it fit?
So look. We're going to do this real quick. Okay.
We're doing a demo here.
We're doing it live. Okay. So we've got this 16-ounce can right here, right?
Yeah.
And then we take this little insert that also comes with it.
Okay.
That drops in there.
Okay.
The bottle goes in there. And then look at that.
Okay. You better drink that top off though, because it's some of it's exposed, getting warm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Chris, I'm going to start off the first little entry thing, and then at the highlighted spot you hear.
Well, and I have to interrupt you again because Chad just said, because we shared the fundraiser, Jeff Seiler donated $65 to get my original goal of 300. I was hoping he'd be on here tonight so I could personally thank him. We've never interacted in any way, but that was really cool of him. He was the biggest donation. I upped the total to $500 and it's gotten up to $375. It's not a ton, but I know every little bit helps, especially with these lesser known cancers. This is the same one that took Walter Payton, maybe my all-time favorite running back, from us. I know the name is hard to pronounce, but it's a cancer of the bile duct. So,
the bile duct. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, like we talked about earlier too, Denny, being able to connect with our listeners all around the world. But we've talked about this before, how we have folks like Chad talking about Jeff, or I want to say Jeff and Eric have talked before. There's been a couple of interactions that I've known about where people are, well, growing friendships over beers across the country or even on the other side of the world too. So
yeah.
I definitely love seeing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So the most popular hops in contemporary craft brewing are Citra Mosaic, Simcoe, Amarillo, Columbus, Centennial, Cascade, and you might want to include Galaxy. But in reality, craft brewers all over the world have a ton of hop varietals available to them. Brewers are always trying to come up with new flavor profiles, and we will be discussing 4 exciting hops to watch in 2022. Now, Hop Culture's Andy Crump is predicting in 2022 2 things: a rise in the popularity of Strata, Eclipse, and HBC 586 hops, and the production of Vista, an entirely new hop coming to us from the Pacific Northwest. All right, so Chris, why don't you go ahead and tell us why experimentation with hops is so important?
Denny, experimentation with hops is so important because the industry only benefits from experimentation with hops. That did not work out the way I expected it to. Anyway, new technology like liquid hop terpenes, cryo hops, and hop blends push craft brewing forward. And new hop varietals keep us excited to drink.
That's right.
That's true. That's definitely true. Beer should never be boring. No one wants to visit a handful of different breweries and find out that each of them use the same hop bill combination. You can only drink so many Mosaic-centric IPAs without getting tired of them. And that would be a shame because Mosaic IPAs are delicious.
They are, yeah.
As are Citra, Simcoe IPAs, and so on. For that reason, it's always welcoming to see beers with hops outside the standard crowd favorites. Brewers have a ton of options for mixing and matching with the industry's current top tier hops. So why aren't we seeing more of these?
Yeah. All right. So new hops can take years to come to market. The birth of a new hop comes very rarely. It doesn't happen every year, says Michelle Palosius.
Palacios.
Palacios. See,
I got
yeah.
you.
Yeah. Business manager for Hubbard, Oregon's Hop Research Council. That's the HBC. Wait, HRC, sorry. I'm totally goofing up here. It takes 10 plus years to develop hop varieties. It's a process. What's her name again?
Palacios.
Palacios. Palacios finds familiar at the Hop Research Council, which works with the United States Department of Agriculture's hop program to cultivate new varieties of hops. Which HRC's elite hop program, the council strives to generate enough quantities of fledgling varieties for pilot brewing. Quote, we work with our brewer members to conduct brewing trials. Palacios.
You nailed it.
Okay, says. We're able to identify hops that have gained enough acceptance in the brewing community to then release as a public variety. She notes that for the betterment of the brewing industry, HRC focuses on public varieties and not proprietary varieties. Making public varieties means much more flexibility for brewers who aren't restricted to buying new hops through one source. Okay, Chris, now that we talked about how we come up with new hop varieties and why experimentation is so important, let's go ahead and talk about the hops.
So the first one is Vista, a hop on the horizon. According to Hubbard, the Hop Research Council started developing Vista in 2006, and they only recently approved it for planting across the Pacific Northwest. 16 years. The time it takes a child to become a teenager. No. It's 13 years, but hey,
it's true.
Math,
That's true.
right? That's how long it took Vista to make it to market. Actually, it still won't be available for commercial brewers until later this year. Currently, HRC has 2 propagators, F&B Farms and Skagit Horticulture, preparing plant cuttings for potting for roughly 100 acres of Vista across Washington, Idaho, and Oregon through 2022. Palacios anticipates that these hops will be harvested and available for brewing starting in the fall. Ooh, that means when all the wet hop stuff comes out.
Yeah.
The hop exists, but there's still about 8 months left before brewers can begin brewing with it. But Vista will be worth the wait. Featuring predominantly melon, apple, and even pear tasting notes, Vista has a refreshing flavor profile, which explains the positive feedback brewer members have given HRC. Quote, they like Vista because it plays well with other hops, says Palacios, referencing Citra and Mosaic as particularly good pairings.
So I just had this hop in a beer for the first, as far as I understand, the first time this weekend.
Did you know?
And, yes. And again, it's not even released out for like really for pop, I don't know how Jim Dandy was able to, grab some of this hop to brew a beer with it. But I will say that the beer that they brewed, now it's not only the hop that made this beer so good, it was also the malts that they used as well. But it played so well with the malts that it just, I just fell in love with the beer. And when I first tried it, I was like, well, this is good. I had a 10-ounce pour. I was like, oh, this is good. I like this one. But I had that after having a couple IPAs. And when you have IPAs and you drink a pale ale, you feel the malt in it, which was nice. This is a real traditional, it's almost like an Oktoberfest because it's using Vienna and Munich malts. But you could feel the malt in it, right? You had the malt flavor, but it had a nice hop finish to it. And that hop finish complemented those malts and just made it like really good. I fell in love with it. So the next day I come back, I order a pint. The first pint I order is that because I really enjoyed it the day before. and I just sucked this thing down and like, oh my gosh, this beer is fantastic. So I had another one because I mean I needed to have another one. So I drank a second one, and then I'm like, I'm moving this beer rating up to a 5 cap rating because the beer was so well produced, and like I said, this Vista hop played very well with the malt that gave it just a very refreshing and very easy drinking, delicious beer. So yeah, so I've already had Vista. It's not a strong hop, right? It's very more subtle. And that's why I think it says it plays very well with other hops, because it's not going to be the one that's going to give you that bold, booming flavor. It's very subtle, behind the scenes character that really comes out if it's not, if you're not overwhelming it. So I don't know how it's going to be if you like force it into an IPA. I don't know if it'll be that special, but I think it's a good complementary hop for sure. So, okay, that's my little take on the Vista. Okay.
Well, let's hear about Eclipse then.
Okay, so Eclipse, it's an explosive new hop. On paper alone, this hop reads like a flavor powerhouse. Quote, Eclipse has the explosive, zesty orange rind characteristic that just leaps out of my Mylar bag as soon as you crack one open, says Justin Negrotti, brewer of Channel Marker Brewing in Beverly, Massachusetts. A new variety that hit the market last year. Eclipse can be tricky to find. Channel Marker had good fortune in 2021. Their primary hop supplier, Willamette Valley Hops, managed to snag a portion of Eclipse for them to try out. Currently, Eclipse is supplied by Hop Products Australia, HPA, which makes sense because HPA supplies another well-known hop found in the IPAs everywhere, which is Galaxy. One can find common traits in Galaxy and Eclipse. Both have an alluring citrus flavor profile, which makes sense that Eclipse made a big blip on Negrotti, Crandall, and Corrigan's radar. That's the three brewers of Channel Marker. Channel Marker. So I think I've had Eclipse. I just don't remember, what beers had it in there. I'd have to, now that I've seen a name, I'll pay more attention to it. It just happens that I had just written this up before I went to Pocatello, saw that they were using Vista hops, so I knew that was one that was wasn't a beer that I just had. So that's why I knew that one. Okay, Chris, you can do the next two because the next one's really short.
Yeah, the HBC 586, a tropical threat. Justin Negrotti describes HBC 586 as having an intense dried mango slice characteristic. I like dried mangoes. Yeah, they're pretty delicious. Those are potentially big tropical notes that we can see working their way into clear West Coast IPAs or even potentially East Coast hazies. And before we get into this one, just want to say hello to Craig Murrell. Say hello to your wife, Robin, for us as well. So yeah, it's just a big tropical mango hit in this one.
Yeah, and this one, I think I've seen this in beers as a additional beer, like a hop that's along with the ride with other hops. I think I've seen this one in beers before.
And the next one we've talked about before.
Yeah, this one's been out for at least a year already. If not 18 months, it's been out in beer. So go ahead and read this one.
So Strata, an exciting hop for the hazies. While Strata may sound tame in comparison to Eclipse and HBC 586, don't be fooled. Sweet fruits come through this variety. Plus, Strata has something Eclipse and HBC 586 don't. The highly sought after quality of dank cannabis.
Is that highly sought after?
I think so.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah. And if it comes to a beer, I mean, if I'm drinking an IPA, I guess there's a couple of things that I look for. I'm not looking for them individually, but like if I get a beer and I go, oh, this has got some dank characteristics to it. Or if I get another one, you can smell like the resinous notes in, or you can smell the tropical fruits or taste any of those things. It's like 3 different classifications of an IPA. So I'd look for it.
Okay.
Negroni considers Strata an amazing complementary hop in New England style ales. Lest anyone forget, the New England IPA did come from New England. So it's not just a clever name.
Okay.
We like our hoppy beers hazy and juicy, and yes, a little bit dank. We had the opportunity this year to hand select our Strata lot from friends at Indie Hops, and the strawberry notes we pulled from the samples were just incredible, adds Negroni.
Okay.
Channel Marker Brewing has more tricks up their sleeve for 2022. Their brew team are big fans of Incognito, a liquid hop product from Willamette Valley hops, for instance. But if they have Eclipse, HBC 586, and Strata on the mind, then everybody else should too.
Yeah, that Incognito, did we, it seems like we talked about Incognito, or we were curious about it and we looked it up, but I can't remember if we did talk about it on the show or not. But
It doesn't ring a bell.
okay, maybe I was talking about it with someone else that we had something with Incognito. I had no idea what it was, and we looked it up, and then we found out that yeah, it's this liquid, basically a liquid hop additive that you can put into your beer to make it
Hoppier.
more hoppy. Yeah.
So I typed in just in Google for what I call S's and G's, or as some of you know it as shits and giggles. Beers with Incognito hops, and the things that actually popped up kind of surprised me because, well, Incognito is just that product, but two big ones popped. Well, three if you count the Abito one, but two things in general popped up. Elysian Space Dust.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Now, again, I don't know if they're actually using the product or what. And the second one, Bell's Hop Slam.
Really?
The third one was
that's gotta be a new addition though, because it hasn't been around that long for them to use it.
Right. That's what I mean. So it's just, these are the ads that popped up. I don't know if I just typed in the word hops and that's what popped up, because also things like Parrish's Ghost in the Machine or Sweetwater's 420, that kind of stuff. So I didn't really dig into it that much, but that's what popped up when I typed that in. So
okay. Well, let's finish off this segment by saying, will these hops take craft beer to new places? Maybe you've already had an IPA brewed with one of these hops. If so, lucky you. For the rest of us, we'll have to keep our eyes peeled and wait for opportunities to experience these exciting hops ourselves. Especially with Vista, which we are waiting with bated breath to burst onto the scene later this year. It's already out, and at least in Idaho it is.
apparently.
Apparently. In the meantime, we're encouraged by the excitement building behind these hop varietals. Overall, we're thrilled to watch these hops make their way into one of the most popular beer styles out there and start taking IPAs and pale ales and maybe even other varieties to new places. So there you go. There's 4 new exciting hops to look out for this year, and find the beers that check out when you have a beer. If you enjoy it, look at how it's made, and find out if it includes one of these hops. Maybe one of these hops is making that stand out especially well for you.
And I'll also retract what I said about Hop Slam too, because I typed in Vista, beers with Vista hops, and Hop Slam popped up again. So I was wrong.
Okay.
Happened to be the way that Google worked.
It was just the ad search just popped up with
it. Got me.
Okay. All right, Chris, you know what? Now it's time to talk about our new and noteworthy beers. So any new and noteworthy beers for you this week?
I did. I had a couple of local ones, and I had one from Ohio. The first one is going to be from Magnanimous Brewing. It's called Head of the Table. Now, I'm ill prepared for what was in this beer, but it was a barrel-aged beer. I know it had things like pecans, and I want to say there was chocolate and all kinds of good stuff in it. Head of the Table, Magnanimous. And just happened to grab one of these cans when I was at the brewery. It's pecan pie ale aged in Pritchard's double chocolate bourbon barrels for 14 months and conditioned on Florida pecans and vanilla beans. This one was a little on the sweeter side, but I was sitting down watching a hockey game while I was drinking it. So Drank it excitedly when I was watching the Lightning win. But it was I gave it a 4.25 when I rated it. It was a little sweeter, but it was still very enjoyable, easy to drink, not super boozy or not a bunch of heat coming off of the barrel or anything. Very, very good. I liked it a lot. Second one is going to be from Cigar City Brewing, which is from their El Catador Club. This called 3 on a Match. And this was an old ale. So the old ale is definitely a beer that you and I, Denny, specifically, we both love getting a hold on or a hold of. And this is an old ale aged in white port barrels and just simply delicious beer. I think I was watching a Lightning game when I was drinking this one too, but just simple, easy to drink, not super boozy or, not too much barrel. They did a really good job blending this one too. So 4.25 caps on this one. And my last one coming out of Ohio from Jackie O's Brewery. It was their Granola Bourbon Barrel Black Maple from 2020. Now, I got this beer from my buddy Art, who traded me some beers. He won some beers here locally in Tampa, and I picked them up for him. He got some Hunapoo. I picked them up for him, shipped them down to him, and then he sent me these beers back in exchange as a thank you. And I expected that when I cracked this bottle open, and it was a 375 milliliter bottle. When I cracked this beer open, I thought I was going to pour it in there. It was going to be motor oil thick. It was going to be just fake maple, coat the inside of your mouth. And I was like, look, I've had this for about a year now. I'd like to drink it. Let's just do it. If I hate it, you can always just suffer through it. Denny, I want to tell you that I got into this beer. I took that first sip. It was nothing what I expected it to be. Absolutely nothing. It wasn't cloying and mouth coating and super heavy and sweet. It was actually a little lighter than I expected it to be. It had started to mellow out a little bit too, because it's about 2 years old now. And you could definitely taste the bourbon and the barrel, and there was a touch of maple in it. It was very subtle. Subtle, and it was not overpowering in the beer at all. You could still get the flavor of the Imperial Stout that was the base. Well, a little sweetness of the maple and then some of the barrel. I gave it a 5 cap rating for this beer.
Wow, nice.
And it disappeared very fast. And it wasn't super like high alcohol either. I think it was like somewhere between 8 and 10%. Like it wasn't just some like, hey, booze bomb, get you drunk kind of Imperial Stout. It was just subtle is the best way that I can put it.
Nice.
Really the way I can put it. Nice. So that's my new and noteworthy beers. Denny, let's hear a little bit about yours.
Okay. I had a ton of good beer I drank in the last 2 weeks, but I'm going to talk about 4 of them very quickly. I already mentioned this one, Jim Dandy Brewing. The beer that I talked about just a little bit ago is Snowbound American Pale Ale. This is brewed with Vienna and Munich malts and Vista hops. And I gave this a 5 cap rating. I said, so funny that the hop used in this beer, we will be discussing on the show on Monday, the Vista hop. This is a very good pale with a delicious malt base that blends perfectly with the subtle flavors of the hop.
My buddy Art just checked in when I was reading about the beer.
Checked in the same beer?
No, he just hopped on and commented, and he said, well, I tuned in just in time. Thanks for the beer, man. It was delicious. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine. I did tropical fruit sweetness, limiting notes, 5 cap rating. I also made a comment the next day. That was the first day. And then the next day I said, had 2 more pints of this beer today, which is Saturday, and it is so damn good. Great job, Davis. You've made a true winner, raising my rating to a 5 cap rating. It's definitely a 5 cap beer. This beer is fantastic. I hope they're able to make this more often. I think it's going to be a big winner for them if they can. I think it's a really good beer. The next one is another Jim Dandy beer. It's called Spark. It's a fruited Berliner Weisse. And guess what the fruit is? Strawberries. and prickly pear. So it's funny that just a couple of shows ago, I made a comment that, yeah, strawberries aren't good in beer. It's hard to get a thing. Well, guess what? When you put 150 pounds of strawberries into a beer and sour it, it makes a good beer. So Jim Dandy, that's what Jim Dandy did. And this is what I said here is, and so episode 197, might have been 196, I lose track. I mentioned strawberries are hard to use in beer. Well, it was pointed out to me that they work well in sours. And this is a good case of a sour that it works really well with. This is a perfect example, mixed with some prickly pear to put it over the top. Fantastic beer, 5 cap rating. 2 5 cap ratings this weekend from Jim Dandy Brewing. Again, Jim Dandy is making, in my opinion, is making some of the best beer in Idaho, if not the best beer in Idaho. So that's just my opinion, but I've had a lot of beer in my life, and I really enjoy their beer. Okay, next one is from Crux Fermentation. This is their project, Crux Fermentation project. We've talked about them before. This is their Noisy Boy IPA. And what I said about this is, so when I see a head, oh, and by the way, the head on this beer was just like super like dense, foamy, sticking up above the rim. I mean, just wasn't going away. It was like really nice head. I said, when you see a head like this on a beer, I know it's made great. The aroma is a candy citrus, falls right into the flavor, finishes with a little piney and pithy bitterness. Great beer with great flavors, 4.5 cap rating. Really like this Noisy Boy. I've got 3 more cans to drink, and I'm going to enjoy every one of them. And then the last beer I'm going to talk about is from Roadhouse Brewing. And I've talked about Roadhouse before. They're out of are they Montana or Wyoming now? Now I'm going to screw it up. Wyoming, Jackson, Wyoming. Okay. This is called the Walrus. It's a New England hazy IPA. And I said super soft and creamy with the juicy citrus hop character that really hits a spot. Delicious. 4.5 cap rating. I picked up a 4-pack of this, a 16-ounce cans, and I'll tell you what, actually, wait a minute. I didn't pick this up. My lovely wife picked this up for me and brought it back home for me. And when I opened the can and drank it, I said, honey, you just picked out a fantastic beer. Thank you. And it really was a really good beer. So Roadhouse hasn't let me down yet. And if you can get Roadhouse in your area, try their beers. They make some really, really good beers. Okay, Chris, guess what? We just had a fantastic show. But before we end it, I always want to give you a chance to raise a glass to someone you'd like to raise a glass to. So who would you like to raise a glass to tonight?
So 2 people specifically. First, I'd love to raise a glass to Mark Reedy for the voicemails. We really appreciate you guys calling in and leaving us voicemails and stuff. It definitely makes it so much easier to communicate with the show. How have we gone so many episodes with not just telling people, hey, look, it's easier.
Yeah, it's just easier. Just do it.
Yeah.
You can do it from your car. Just hit the, just put us on your phone. Just put us as a contact and just,
For those of you rap fans out there, as my friend Ludacris would say, just pick up the motherfucking phone and dial. Okay. But I also want to raise a big glass, Denny, to Chad Lamassa. Cheers to you, Chad. Happy birthday, buddy. I'm glad you get to enjoy some great beers on your birthday, especially that Nugget Nectar. That's always a good one.
Oh, yeah. Nugget Nectar is good.
Yeah. So, guys, cheers, Mark. Cheers, Chad. Happy birthday, Chad. And Denny, who would you like to raise a glass to?
Well, our Patreon toast goes out to Eric Gronling. We've already mentioned him enough on the show. And before I even put the show out, I had Eric picked as the Patreon toast, but he did help out this show quite a bit. Cheers to you, Eric. Thank you for your support. And like Chris already mentioned, happy birthday to you, Chad. Even on his birthday, he comes in and watches us live for a little bit. We don't ask you to stay the whole show. If you do stay the whole show, that's fantastic.
He's still here. He said, thanks, guys.
Oh, yeah, he's still here. That's awesome. But, hey, we appreciate you guys coming in, interacting with us. We love, having you along for the ride. And happy birthday, Chad. Okay, and also, I know it sounds repetitive, but you know, I was a former serviceman, and once a submariner, always a submariner. I always want to raise my glass to all those who have served and are currently serving in the U.S. military services, protecting our freedoms. Thank you for your service, and please return home safely very soon. And Chris, should we read a sponsor, or are we gonna? I
You
think
know
we can
what?
go ahead. Let's go ahead and roll the dice. Let's
Yeah.
read it.
So we want to talk about our friends over at Frost Buddy. They are specializing in cooling containers for your beverage of choice. Frost Buddy has the Universal Buddy 2.0 right here in my hand, which is the world's first universal can cooler for 12-ounce cans, slim cans, bottles, and even 16-ounce cans. Frost Buddy also has the world's first universal wine cooler, 24-ounce stainless steel mugs, and even stainless steel dog bowls. Go visit their website at frostbuddy.com.
Okay. And you can find the beers and the links to the articles mentioned in the show in the show notes located on the show post at taptocraft.com. If you'd like to follow us on social media, I can be found on Twitter, Instagram, and Untapped at Loose Screw. And Chris, how can our listeners follow you?
Probably never on Twitter, Chris_McKenzie82, or you can always find me on Untapped and Instagram at MCK1345. But of course, always interact with us on everything social at Tap the Craft.
All right, it is last call. It's time to bring the show to a close. We want to thank you for downloading and listening, and we ask you to please tell a friend, and of course, subscribe on your favorite podcast app. And if you don't mind, just hit that little 5-star button on Spotify or on iTunes, and let everyone know that you like what you hear. And as a reminder, we release a new show every 2 weeks. Now go out there and spread the good word of craft beer.
Cheers.
Cheers.